You're listening to Resistance Radio, the front line against globalist tyranny. You're listening to Resistance Radio.
This is the British Renaissance Report with former member of the European Parliament, Andrew Brons.
Nationalists Discrediting Nationalism, a presentation by Andrew Brons to British Renaissance. Now, there are many different strands of opinion among nationalists, and organisations reflect those differences. However, to the media, and therefore to much of the public, we're simply the far right, a label that my old logic tutor, Sidney Grundy, would have called an unfinished term, because it doesn't say from which point it's far. We're depicted as an amorphous mass within which differences are difficult to make out, allegedly, and therefore probably non-existent. Therein lies the danger. We all stand convicted of each other's offences. We're all smeared by each other's antics. Now, some organisations are avowedly National Socialist, but many of us are nothing of the kind and support parliamentary democracy and our political system. Most organisations avoid trouble and do their best to avoid prosecutions. The two examples of people described as nationalists committing what are clearly atrocities were Copeland, the nail bomber, and Thomas Mair, the murderer of Joe Cox. And these were both isolated individuals without any connection to any nationalist organisation. However, it's reported that National Action was recently banned because it allegedly quoted Mair's words with approval on its website. Furthermore, one of its spokesmen came very close to advocating genocide at a nationalist forum. Some nationalists have expressed dismay at this action of the Home Secretary, Amber Rudd, in banning National Action. Miss Rudd certainly justified her actions by the wrong criteria, referring to National Action's, quote, disgusting ideology, her words. The Home Secretary does not have the power to ban organisations on account of their ideologies, however disgusting the minister might think they are. The ground for banning an organisation is advocacy of terrorism. If that is what National Action did, and I haven't seen its posting on its website, then it must bear responsibility for its own fate. So far, it's the only nationalist organisation to have suffered this fate since the war. But once governments use a controversial power once, they find it much easier to use it a second and a third time. National Action's antics might not just have succeeded in getting itself banned, it might have succeeded in putting other nationalists at risk. The government would love to balance its ban of several Islamist organisations with several bans on nationalist ones. They might be content to wait patiently until some lunatic joins a law-abiding nationalist party and then commits an atrocity. They might even persuade a person to join and/or commit the atrocity. They might, of course, legislate changes in the Home Secretary's powers, allowing organisations to be banned on the basis of their ideologies or their antipathy to the political class's alleged values. We must all be on the lookout for lunatics in our ranks, and if they're potentially dangerous lunatics, they must be removed using constitutional powers correctly. We must not give the Home Secretary the pretext to make further bans. We must certainly not make her a gift of such a pretext. Now, the dangers of being discredited are not limited to the prospect of a ban on an organisation. Whether we attract votes and members depends, among other things, on our image in the eyes of the public. We must appear to be the right kind of moderate, without, of course, being the wrong kind. We must express ourselves in gentle, friendly language, We must not use racially offensive epithets. We must not make exaggerated claims about ethnic minorities' activities. We must not seem to imply that all or even most of a particular ethnicity display an unfavourable characteristic. We might use the word disproportionately, if accurate, because it expresses accuracy and care about choice of language. We must point out that we, rather than the political class, treats ethnic minorities with respect. The political class regards the ethnicities of immigrants as a shallow outer layer that can be removed and replaced and overstamped with the words British citizen. We recognise that the ethnicities of minorities are their true essence, their defining qualities. We must address minorities directly, urging them to be proud of their ethnicities and not to allow themselves to be robbed of their identities. They must be encouraged to reinvest themselves in their countries and continents of origin. We must not embrace the wrong kind of moderation, betraying our principles by becoming nationalist light. We must not pretend that all people have the same potential and can be made British by the right kind of nurture. That's the mistake that has been made by UKIP, except, of course, that it wasn't a mistake.
This is John Nugent, and this was the British Renaissance Report with former member of the European Parliament, Andrew Brons.
You're listening to Resistance Radio. You're listening to Resistance Radio.